Hey, I had a lot of videos on my channel about different boards with NPU. And this video is the next video in this series, but it will be a bit unusual. In this video, I will tell you what's NPU you can buy online today. It's just like market overview. And also I want to ask you about few advices. First of all, which of the board that I didn't have overview yet you want next video about, so I can buy some of the boards and make a new overview and comparison with different boards. And the second question, it's not all of these listed devices are publicly available for sale. And if anyone can provide some access to benchmark such device, I will be very happy about this. Just write this in the comments or on my email. Okay, let's go. Let's start with those devices that I already ordered after this overview, and I want them to benchmark first because I don't have these videos on my channel. First, I want to test Raspberry Pi 5. I already had the video about Raspberry Pi 3 on my channel. Of course, I worked a lot with Raspberry Pi 4, but didn't make this video. And Raspberry Pi 5, in my opinion, it's pretty good board to benchmark. Of course, it didn't has any NPU accelerator, but it has pretty fast processor, so I want to check how convenient it is, how easy to export network there, and of course it's a good reference point to compare with different boards. And in my opinion, Raspberry Pi 5 is pretty convenient in terms of the price. Next device, I don't yet choose which one it will be, but it should be based on RockChip 3588. I already have had a video on my channel about RockChip 3566, and actually they are pretty close to each other. But this one has 3 NPU units instead of 1, and it has pretty powerful CPU. I already once touched such device and was pretty impressed, so I want to check this a little bit closer and to look at all the possibilities. I think I will take like OrangePi 5 or this friendly elk NanoPC. Maybe some other vendors, I don't know yet, because it's all depend on how good is the system from the vendor. In my opinion, Radxa didn't has good system. It was a lot of problems with my last try to run RockChip. So I want to try different vendor. The next board I want to test is Kendryte K230. I already I have the video with K210, and in my opinion, it's pretty bad board because K210 has only 5 megabytes of memory, and it's almost useless for nowadays networks. But this one has 520 megabytes of memory, and it didn't has any Linux system on it. It's just MicroPython inference. Maybe it's okay, and like my complaint about previous board was about the memory. So I want to check this one because, in my opinion, it's should be pretty okay if the memory issue is resolved. There was already the board from them is K510, but in my opinion it was pretty expensive. I think I can find it even on this website. No. But yes, here it is. So it $200, and in my opinion, it's not okay with such price because the speed is not dramatically faster, and the board also didn't has convenient system to work with. But for less than $50, I think it's okay to test. Next, I want to move on to M2 boards. In my opinion, M2 is one of the most advantageous form factor for neural accelerators. Therefore, with great interest, I looking on the market and on new M2 boards. Unfortunately, there is nothing cheap and accessible yet, but there are 5 new vendors for the last year and a half, I think. So let's go through this. I already mentioned a few times that, in my opinion, M2 accelerators are the future of a lot of the devices. Because it's super convenient when you separately decide there will be a processor, there will be an inference device. So, and nowadays, from all the current devices, I think Hailo 8 is one of the most convenient. Of course, there are some problems with quantization, but in my opinion, in terms of how easy to get this device, how fast this device, how convenient its model export, it's okay, super okay device. So I already have the video about this on my channel, so I don't want to return to this again. The second convenient device, it's of course Google Coral. Of course, like Google Coral, it's a whole family of the devices, and this one is M2 device. It's pretty ok device, but it's, in my opinion, it's pretty slow. Speaking of today modern networks. Also, there are a lot of new devices in this field. I will show just a few. It's Axelera. It's DeepX. It's SIMa.ai, and it's brainchip. And the main problem with all these new devices, you can't easily buy one of them. You need officially ask them. It's you will wait for the answer and so on. So I don't want to bother at this point. So and a lot of these devices, for example, I saw some estimation of Axelera price. Also, as you can see, for the brain chip, it's almost $500, and in my opinion, it's a little bit more than it should be for such devices. And for SIMa.ai, also I saw one place when the price was pretty expensive. So at this point, I don't want to test them, but if anyone has some information about the devices that I missed, or have information about like if any of these devices can be brought, like I can buy them, for example, $150, then write me and I will look at this. Next one is like general overview of existing boards. It will be about vendors and which board based on these vendors you can find. And we will start from most popular ones and we'll go to the vendors where you can buy NPU chip, but like there are just a few boards or mentioning that they have some boards about this. Speaking about more classic boards, of course, we should start with Jetsons boards because it's like most classic board on the market. And of course, there are a lot of different Jetsons Orin on the market, like NX, Nano, and AJX series. I didn't test them yet, but I don't think that it's a problem. Like, I have an experience of working with Jetsons. My first Jetson related project was in 2014, I think, and I tested like Jetson K1, Jetson TX1, Jetson TX2, Jetson Nano, Jetson NX, and so on. And I like generally, I don't think that it's completely different and new. Jetson, it's super convenient board, super okay. You can not only run neural networks on it, but run pretty heavy and computational heavy algorithms. I think it's one of the best board on the market, but of course, like the price, the energy consumption, it's not great. So, in my opinion, if like you can put the Jetson in your project, just do it. Of course, like speaking of Nvidia Jetson, you need to speak on about Intel, and like Intel has a lot of good CPUs. Intel has a lot of good CPU with Iris GPU on them, and of course, like Intel, it's also super convenient board when you need run on the edge. But also Intel boards with good performance, they are not cheap in my opinion. So I saw dozens of projects with Intel NUCs, and of course, like NUC, they are already not in production, but there are a lot of competitors in this form factor, and you can choose any one of them. And of course, I already mentioned RockChip, but there are a lot of boards based on RockChip. And they are completely different, but it's not perfect in terms of software, in terms of model export, but they're super convenient in how, like, each day they become more and more convenient. So I already have 3 different videos or even more about RockChip, so just check them. In my opinion, it's good choice for on the current market, but it's not very interesting to test me any other RockChip based board. Okay, the next one is Amlogic based boards. I already test one of them. It was Hadas Vim3. It was based on Amlogic A311. there are a lot of boards, some of them based on more recent Amlogic chips, but in my opinion, Amlogic, they have better support in some of frameworks, but in my opinion, the support is not like super okay, and they didn't look in terms of we want to put super fast NPU chip on new boards. This Amlogic was faster than the more recent one. Probably it's enough, but I tried to find some board that should be interesting for me, but I didn't find any new board super interesting for me, so I decided don't test them this time, but probably maybe in a year they will release some more interesting board. Someone release more interesting board based on Amlogic. All next boards, in my opinion, it's like maybe it's fun to check them. Maybe they are good in some terms, but like the VisionFive board, I don't have it, but I mentioned this in one of my previous videos, and like they have even two different accelerator, like some GPU with Nvidia cores and some NPU model. But at least 1 year ago, it was almost not possible to run any one of them. The more recent VisionFive 2 doesn't have any NPU accelerators. And speaking of GPU acceleration, I didn't find any good explanation how to run neural networks there. But of course, maybe like TensorFlow Lite with some GPU, like with Vulkan or something like this, will work, but I didn't find any mentions about this. Some other board, but pretty expensive, and it's almost no information about this specific NPU chip on this board. But maybe if you interested in this, it can work. I saw it sometimes it used for some robotics projects, but I didn't meet any mentioning about big computer vision projects for this. Almost the same for this board. But it's pretty cheap in my opinion, but I don't sure that it will work, but at least it has some NPU accelerator. Okay, this one board is super interesting in my opinion, but I think I'm not yet ready for it because it's like not regular board, it's FPGA board that can run neural networks. It's super interesting, but in my opinion, you need to spend a lot time to build some project based on this stuff because they have completely different logic of thinking around them. They are not very expensive, at least, and not very cheap. Like sometimes FPGA can cost more than $1,000. As far as I remember, this one cost around $200, but it's more expensive than cheap NPU boards, and it's cheaper than expensive FPGA accelerators. So I don't know, maybe when I have a lot of free time, I can check this, but at this point, I don't think that it's interesting for me, but maybe for someone who want to check how it's run on FPGA. this pretty interesting board and accelerator. I already had a video about Maix-III board, and this is the Maix-IV board. There are a few problems with it. The first one, all the documentation on Chinese. Of course, it's pretty easy nowadays when you have like Google Translator and just turn it on, check, and you can check almost everything. This board is pretty interesting because you can run one-shot models like Clip or DynaV2 on this board like in real time. It's super interesting. And there are like a lot of samples in the GitHub. There are a lot of converted models. So the vendors thinking about AI a lot. But like I already speak a lot of this in my previous video, but I don't like that there is no Python support. So I don't want at this point to go through all this. Like C++ is a bit longer, and they model export pipeline, it's not super convenient. So I don't want to spend time right now on this board, but in my opinion, it's interesting board for someone who, for example, if you want to run some neural networks and C++ is more convenient for you than Python, probably you should look on this. It's not very expensive. It has super good performance, and there are a lot of support on the forum and in GitHub. At least I saw a lot of articles about it. The next one is pretty interesting. It's new board from Texas Instruments, and I think it's a pretty interesting board, but it's not cheap. At this point, I don't want to buy it, but maybe in future I want to check how convenient is this, because it's a big company. Of course, they have some documentation, probably not like classic one, but let's look. But not at this time. Not this time. Yes, the price it's $250. And next we go to a lot of different chips. I am not sure that all of them has some boards with them because I can't find everything. But I just showing that there was some mentioning about that there was boards on this NPU chip. There was a few mentioning about this one, but I couldn't find like a ready board based on this. There is a lot of information about this one, but there are only some. All I saw it's a few platforms for debugging, and I don't think that it has convenient interface for Python or something like this. Also, and let's go through some microprocessor. There are microchips. There are boards where no fully functional Linux on them. And with such boards, you can directly infer your image and have result sometimes by some network protocol, sometimes by output of some pin. But they are like, in some ways, they are compatible and you can use them for image recognition tasks sometimes. But let's go through them. There are a lot of microchips that has pretty good AI capabilities. It's not like super good, but for example, you can saw like few videos on my channel about ESP32 and so on, like OpenMV, super popular. There is a nice list on Edge Impulse site. Of course, it's not like all AI chips. There are a lot of them, but they are usually pretty slow. It's like few frames per second inference. And of course, you can't put like big neural networks there and so on and so on. But for some tasks, they are more than okay. It's not like my field of interest, at least, but for some projects, they are definitely super okay. And when you're thinking about the processor for your neural network inference, and you should look also in this direction. And the final part will be about some unusual devices. It's just like regular CPU, GPU, or other devices that I didn't mention, and I want to put a few words about them here. And few words about what I miss in my overview. The first of all, I miss a lot of old chips because, in my opinion, like they are pretty old and they are not the product based on them is not very interesting nowadays. It's GAP8 and Greenwave technologies. Like it's not very interesting for me. The next one, it's gyrfalcon, and they cite even didn't work in nowadays. The next one is myriadx because it's already out of production, and you shouldn't buy anything that didn't produce in nowadays. And there are a lot of boards without NPU on them, but probably with powerful CPU or GPU. For example, this one should be pretty fast, although I didn't test it. But it's just like a sample of the board where the performance could be pretty fast. And probably you can look at such boards. And for example, even Raspberry Pi is one of such boards, the board I started with. So, okay, that's all for today. Thank you for watching, and I want to remember you again. If you want some of this board to be reviewed, just write this in comments and I will look at the most popular one. Thank you for watching. Bye.